My name is Ted Abele, and I was born and raised in Nevada, Missouri, and grew up on a relatively large farm there. My parents raised livestock, cattle, hogs, corn, wheat, soybeans. I graduated from Nevada High School and then did my undergraduate work at the University of Missouri in Columbia and majored in agricultural economics. My career really began straight out of undergraduate work, and I accepted a position with the Federal Intermediate Credit Bank of St. Louis. And they had a what they call an executive program with the bank, and I spent my first couple of years out of school there, and then was promoted to a position with the VP of Ozark Production Credit, where we got field experience in farm credit, and was basically the manager of farm credit services for PCA in Dade and Barton County, Missouri. I began to look around at graduate programs, and my old college undergraduate advisor, a gentleman named Don Levi, called and suggested I come down and spend time with him at Texas A&M and look into graduate programs at A&M before I made any decisions. And so I did. I came to Texas A&M in 1974, and I did my master's work. After my master's work, I went back to farm credit in Bloomington, Minnesota, as the associate director of audit, and spent a couple of years there before deciding I was probably not well suited long term to being in credit, and thought probably the best opportunities were on the other side of the desk. So I left farm credit then in '78 or so, and moved back to the family farms in Vernon County, Missouri, and farmed with my father, and then later my younger brother, who finished his undergraduate work in Missouri, until the early 80s, about 84. But in 1979, I started the first company called American Agronomics that was basically responsible for helping distressed agricultural producers in the late 70s who had incurred a lot of debt and with sinking agricultural commodity prices were looking for solutions. So I began doing financial consulting in the ag sector with a firm we called American Agronomics. And from 1978 or 9 until 1996, that company basically provided management and financial and marketing consulting services to the agricultural sector. And we had 500 clients in 22 or 3 states here in the Midwest. And in the early 80s, we became a rather large farm management player because of the great recession in the agricultural economy. We had a lot of entities, particularly Farmers Home Administration and other institutional landowners, who came in possession of lands during periods of foreclosure. So we had Farmers Home Administration, FHA, SBA, FDIC, lots of banks and insurance companies who suddenly needed farm management services. So we became, in the early to late 80s, one of the larger farm management firms in the country. We sold out the farm management division of American Agronomics in 1987, and that happened to sell to Brock Associates out of Milwaukee. And we continued to do financial consulting, and in 1987, we began to buy distressed farmland properties because we knew where there was a lot of farmland. Since we had managed a few million acres, we knew where there was lots of farmland available and what institutions held and which ones were motivated to sell. So we syndicated a lot of farmland in the late 80s, and then began buying through Continental Capital, our holding company, distressed RTC and FDIC and private assets. And rolled up some bank interest in the late 80s, early 90s, which we sold in the 90s. And for the last 12 years or so, I've done primarily financial consulting, mergers and acquisitions work, and invested most of my time in making real estate investments and acquisitions, primarily single-family homes for the first number of years, 800 to 900 transactions, and then a few commercial acquisitions in office buildings and warehouses and so on. And currently I still stay engaged by managing our own investment portfolios and our own real estate portfolios, and consulting a couple of private foundations and hedge funds on acquisition and investments in commercial real estate. Well, I came here at Texas A&M in 1974 at the behest of Dr. Don Levi, who had been my undergraduate advisor at the University of Missouri. I also had a couple of other associates from Mizzou who had come down to Texas A&M, and I arrived, like a lot of students do, with a car and a travel trailer, and it was a place that made me very comfortable. Texas A&M is a wonderful place to be, and particularly attractive to those of us whose value systems focus around God, country, motherhood, and apple pie, and those kinds of things, because it's a pretty conservative place. But that was a good fit for me. And I spent 2 years here studying agricultural economics, and although I studied a lot, I never let the bookwork interfere with my education. And so made a lot of lifelong friends, people who are still here active in the department, Dr. Ed Reister and John Nickel, and different people who I've come to know over the years and spent time with. Dr. Reister and I were graduate school friends together, and I saw this evening some other old friends, Carl Willman and Mike Adams and others who I've stayed too close to over the years. And so it was a great learning experience and a great institution and a lot of tradition. And it was a place where I felt right at home. And if you're going to study agriculture, there are very few better places to do that than right here at Texas A&M. When I speak to my young students here at Texas A&M, which I come a couple times a year to talk to various classes, including some of Dr. Reister's classes, and I think one of the underlying theses that I always advance is for young people that your success in life lies where your passion intercepts your aptitude. And I think that's still true. Of course, on that last axis also is probably some economic function. So if you can determine what you have a passion for in life, what you really, really enjoy, what makes you happy, what would you get up in the morning and do tomorrow, even if they didn't pay you, and you can identify the things in life that you do really well. All of us have specific gifts that I think are important, and if you can identify what those gifts are in your life, and then determine how you're going to deploy your skills and your gifts and those things for which you have a passion in the service of someone else, where there's an economic reward and an incentive to invest yourself, you'll probably do well. Underlying every economic function, though, are the fundamentals of integrity, self-discipline, and perseverance. And if you can master those three essential elements, integrity, self-discipline, and perseverance, no matter what you pursue, as long as it's something you're passionate about, you're likely to be very successful. It's terribly important, and it's very difficult to do when you finish school regardless of your degree, and particularly for the young people who are wanting to be entrepreneurs. Identify the people who are extremely good at what you want to do. Look at the business or the industry that you're interested in, and do some research and identify the people who do what you would love to do most and do it very successfully. And then I encourage students to go to work with or for those people free if necessary for a year or two, to learn what it takes to be phenomenally successful at what it is you want to do. Many times we are so enamored with the economic opportunities when we get out, and we are ready to make real money, and we're pursuing short-term, all those physical rewards from a paycheck, that we forget that the greatest things in life over the years are not what you get, but what you become. And in that vein, I think it's very important to associate with people that you enjoy and respect and admire, and from whom you can learn rather than those whom you can impress. It's very difficult. It's very difficult whether you're entrepreneurial and own your own companies and grow companies and sell them, or whether you work a 9-to-5 job, and everyone's got a different vision of their lives. One of the things that I found is hard to do or fit all those things together, but it's a matter of allocating time and planning ahead and accepting the fact that you probably can't be every place all the time, and there are always some trade-offs. There are always some sacrifices that you have to make. But I've never known anyone in my life who on the last days wished they spent more time in the office. And the most important, most salient moments in your life are going to focus around people and experiences and relationships, almost never around portfolios and bank accounts and possessions. Well, it's a great honor, and I'm always impressed when I look back at the caliber of people who've been honorees in the past. I was sure someone would stand up at our presentation when I was honored, and people who know me well and suggest that, goodness gracious, we've made a terrible mistake here. It's a wonderful honor, and there are people of great achievement and great contribution who've been honored in the past. And I'm happy and very humbled to be among them. Giggle.